What's up, everybody? How are you? Real Talk Chronicles. We are back. I know it's been a while. I apologize. I've been doing a lot of things, and I mean, all good things. We'll talk about that. We'll definitely get into that a little later. Um, right now, I just we'll definitely get into that a little later. Sorry, let me get my stuff together, everybody. Um, First and foremost, it's been a minute. Let me ask Kevin how he's been doing. Kevin, what's going on? What you been up to, brother?
I'm doing well. Weekend hiking and working with my nonprofit. That's all.
Yeah. How's that going? Talk about that.
It's going well. Look, running a nonprofit and running a business is a new experience in life for me. That I'm at some little bit of a learning curve, but doing the work, finding missing kids, that part you can't beat.
Yeah, that's a love. And how is that going? Like I know that could be a taunting task to look for kids. How is that going?
It's going well. We helped with our investigations. Most of our people are volunteers. We helped with around 2,500 cases last year.
Okay.
Not all of them are missing kids. Some of them are other things. If law enforcement calls and says they need a hand, we're going to give them a hand. And
Okay.
a lot of time we have a lot of tech tools and resources and just a big list of friends. So if you were still working, you were a detective working on a case, you call me up and said, "Hey, I'm stuck here. I need this, or I can't figure out that." I'd find you who can get it. Right. That's part of our goal. We find the detective what they need, who they need.
So let me ask you a question. Can you go? And I say this with all due respect. Can you go places and do things detectives can't do? You know what I'm saying? Because there is a protocol.
I won't break any laws. Won't break any rules. We strictly work for police departments, so that means I have to follow the law.
Understood. Especially being a former law enforcement, I just ask because I think a lot of times when people think about things like that, we talk about what private investigators do. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's why I was asking: do you fall under that umbrella like a private investigator kind of thing?
No, not at all.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's what's up, man. Then everybody, now we've caught up to what Kevin is up to. Now let's see what I'm up to. For those that don't know, I just became a co-owner in a restaurant, Row House, on 115th and 8th Avenue for the Harlem Nights. For the people that don't know, it's 2128 Frederick Douglass Boulevard. And, I'm very excited about that. For those that don't know, I have an extensive background in promotions and event planning. And it's come to fruition for me doing my brunches and stuff like that. So I was afforded the opportunity to do this and then really be one of the faces of Row House and keep it on the map and do a lot of quality stuff. We have tonight, as I'm here with you, I'll probably go there later after maybe. We have an international DJ in there that's going to take you around the world. So for all the other ethnicities that there isn't any rap music played tonight, it's just all kind of other genres of music that you can enjoy your heritage by. On Thursday, tomorrow, we have an open mic, and tomorrow is a meet and greet with the owners. And we might have some dignitaries in the building. So if you're free, come by. Open mic. It's open mic. It's not karaoke. We don't do karaoke. We do open mic. So if you can sing, you come and you just rock with the band and show your talents. If you have spoken word, you come and do that. Anything with talent, it's going to be a good thing. On Fridays, we have an after work event, happy hour. And we have a DJ in there so you can relax and unwind from your week. Saturdays, we have brunch events, brunch parties that are good. It's a beautiful crowd. It's a mixture. And Sundays is something that I'm very excited about. It's a very cool, relaxing jazz event that's happening every Sunday. Also, this Sunday at 5:00, we'll be taking reservations for the Super Bowl party. So we will be doing the Super Bowl party after the brunch party. And that's your lineup. And we're there Wednesday through Sunday every week. with that being said, let's get right into it, Kev, because we're not going to be on long. Recently, there were two police officers that were assaulted by some migrants in I think like 42nd, 43rd Times Square area. And the district attorney, who's been on the show, I think several times, or at least he's definitely been on the show. The district attorney's office only gave one bail, I think, and I think he didn't get it. Correct me, help me understand this, Kevin. And the others were let free, right?
They indicted one, got all of them free, and then indicted one.
Yeah. Me personally, I think, and for those that don't know who are just chiming in now listening, I'm a former law enforcement officer. I think it's a travesty that these individuals were let free for attacking a police officer. I can't even fathom how this would go in front of a judge and a judge would say, oh, well, like there should be some things, some situations where they're like, no, like, okay, the governor said bail eligible. And Kevin, if you can maybe explain that to people what bail eligible means. To my knowledge, it means that you don't have to get bail, but if you have enough money, you can get bail. Basically, that's what it is.
If the crime is a bail eligible crime, means the judge can set bail.
Mm-hmm.
It's in their discretion. Hello, Rich.
Big Rich in the building, baby.
What's going on?
What's happening, brother?
Happy belated birthday, Kevin. And
yeah, happy belated. Yeah, everybody. Kevin's Aquarius, so give him all birthday love, please. Send the hearts in for Kevin for his birthday. He was up in the mountain somewhere where he had no business. You know what I'm
saying? It's all true.
Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah, well, I hope not. Well, hey, listen, nowadays, if it is Brokeback Mountain, that's his business. I don't want to know. But, and we got Ty Butler just chimed in. What's happening, Ty?
My apologies for being late, bro.
It's all good, brother. It's good to see you. Everybody, this Real Talk Chronicles. I was just giving them a little breakdown that I just became, a co-owner of Row House.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To the club.
Thank you. Yeah, Ty is a co-owner of Ty. You can mention what you're co-owner of.
Brooklyn Chop House, Times Square.
Yes, absolutely. And with that being said, so there's a little entrepreneurship, right, Ty? There's a little afterlife we doing, right? After the job situation.
Yes, sir.
So what I was asking, what Kevin and I were addressing before you guys chimed in, I don't know what you're saying. We were talking about the migrant situation that happened. The two officers got assaulted in Times Square, and one, Kevin was breaking it down, that one was indicted, right, Kev? And the others were let free. I personally, being a former law enforcement officer, I felt that was a travesty. Like, if you assault a police officer, there's no bail that should be given to you, and you have to wait trial. Kev, your thoughts, Rich, and then Ty. We can go around the board on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just an assault; it's multiple people. So when you're me, or any one of us, one-on-one, that's one-on-one, and it's a different thing. But when I'm in the middle of trying to make an arrest, and you got people who are kicking me, throwing punches at me, and they're cowards, right? They throw a kick, run away, come back, throw a kick, run away. They didn't want to do it. It's 5-6 on them. That's gang. Right. That's you got to put them in. You got to keep them.
Yeah.
There's no way around. And if that was 2 civilians laying on the floor getting beat up by 6 people, I have the same opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
You want to be a tough little gang? Well, then you're going to be a tough little gang on Rikers Island.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, what's your thoughts? And then I'll come to you, Ty.
I thought that was crazy, man. That a group of guys would jump 2 cops like that. I mean, they would have been on the radio, shots fired. If that was
yeah.
Somebody would at least got shot in the foot. Somebody was going to get it.
Yeah.
Reason number 312 why Richard's not a cop.
So yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're giving it your point from a civilian standpoint, but you work extensively with law enforcement and politicians and stuff. So I'm glad. Ty, what's your thought process?
To see where society has come to the day where civilians would jump two cops in uniform with weapons, I don't know what else to say, bro. Like it's gotten to a point where it's pure madness, and because the judicial system doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, this is what we've gotten. You know, there's no way that back in the days those individuals would have even been gotten bail. You know what I mean? As far as to be released, and I don't think they should have been released. You know, all they and from the video, what I got is they were just asking them to move along, and then I guess one of them got out of hand, and then the rest of them jumped them. Come on, that's madness, man.
Yeah. And what makes it a little worse is, you know, they're here as new migrants to the city. The city is giving them housing, money, food, carte blanche, no ends or buts. And this is the payback.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far, Kev. Only reason I'm saying that is because we don't know what's going on. We don't know what they're getting. We know, we hear things that other migrants are getting a easy walk to getting their paperwork and getting jobs, and then certain migrants aren't. So, you know, the game that they play in federal, state, and local government, we have no clue. So I wouldn't even attest to it. And to tell you the truth, when you and that's the last thing, Kevin.
Sure.
Tell you the truth, you put when you take people's self-respect and dignity away, you don't know how they're going to react, and who knows what's going on. You know, they came here for free, not free, but opportunity to live and work and live, and they're basically being put in camps. You know what I mean? So I'm not condoning their behavior. I'm just saying that it should, you know, they should never been released, and that behavior can't be condoned.
Absolutely.
I agree with Ty.
Nice.
Wow, this is really a new year.
We can look at it. You can look at it a different way.
Yeah,
I get you don't know what's in their history, but you're here as a guest, right? And when you're in somebody else's place as a guest, you got to be on your top behavior to stay. They should be removed. They need to go. I would remove them from the U.S.
They came here because of the way the police treat them in their country. They wouldn't be able to survive. If they tried that in their country, they'd be dead. Forget about even going to court.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's also a few police departments, and you know, we go back many years where they would have got a real good beating on the street for that move too.
Yeah.
And then locked up.
And then locked up.
Yeah. Once upon a time, exactly.
And to your point, man, for me, it's kind of like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like chickens coming home to roost in a sense, because the tables have flipped. Before, it was police officers that had carte blanche to stop a mud hole in your ass.
Only yours, Rich. Just yours.
Yeah, you're right. You know, people that look like me.
You know,
you're absolutely right.
So let me ask you a question. With that being said, first and foremost, what do you think about what the DA said? I'll start with you, Rich, in regards to this. Do you think he dropped the ball?
Well, you got to.
What was his comment?
Well, basically, he was like,
"We don't have the footage on that."
I don't know if we have the footage. I mean, unless Kev can pull it up real quick, but otherwise, Kev has it. Kev has it.
Give me a minute.
What he said first, you know, before I can comment on it, I think there needs to be a better understanding to the public about exactly what bail reform is about. You know, because I think it's kind of like the DA office is saying one thing, the police department is saying something else, and the judge has got his own opinion. You know, I mean, it should be in black and white in what's what the law is when it comes to bail reform, because I fully understand why it was put in place. You know, because you're guilty. I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty. So, just for instance, if I'm a citizen and somebody says, "Hey, this guy committed a crime," or somebody accused me of something, or I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I really had nothing to do with what happened, and I have a job where I'm barely making ends meet with a family. I get arrested. I can't afford bail. I'm locked up, and I'm going to stay there until I get my day in court. And who knows when that's going to come. But in the meantime, in between time, I've lost my job. I can't feed my family. And by the time I get to court and they found out it wasn't me, I done lost everything I had just because I couldn't afford to pay the money to get out of court. I mean, to get out of jail. Now, bail is afforded to the people. Well, there's a saying, justice is for people that can afford to pay for it, right? So if I fall into that category where I'm financially strapped, where I can't pay for justice, the way some people that have these means to get out of jail, can do until they have their day in court, the poor people in the community are asked out.
I don't.
Hold on, Rich. I mean, hold on, Ty. Tashawn just said that the situation is different, Rich.
Different in what way?
This situation, just this one.
This situation. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to tell him.
Rich is explaining bail reform in general. Why?
Yeah,
not this incident.
I was explaining what it was supposed to be in place for.
No, understood. Go ahead, Ty.
What I was going to tell you
is this particular situation.
But I think when they drew up this bail reform, it was directed at people who were committing acts, nonviolent acts, right, and weren't first-time offenders or whatever have it. So, there was certain categories they had to fall into. This is a violent act. And they let people go who get caught with a gun, in the commission of a crime. That's still, the bail reform needs to be revamped. If it's not revamped, New York City is going to go to hell, and it already is,
Yeah.
Okay, but just for argument's sake, right? Say I'm a guy that has means to bail myself out, right? Bail reform, I could have had that gun. I could have did what they said, but if I can afford to pay for bail, I'm out.
Absolutely, but that's the normal circumstances. This bail reform was put in place because you had individuals like the young man who sat up there for 3 or 4 months, and it was I think it was a petty crime, and to turn around and it messed up his whole life. Kid had never been in jail before, came home, and if I'm not mistaken, he might have killed himself.
He did.
So
yeah.
So that was the start of it. So there's a lot of situations that had transpired like that, where individuals would sit up there for months on petty crimes and weren't getting released because they couldn't afford bail. That's why they gave them bail reform. But now you have individuals, whether they could afford it or not, you commit a violent act, especially an assault on a police officer, there's no bail.
Right.
Shame on the DA.
Yeah. I'm reading the New York Times on it, and it was the DA's office's decision not to ask for bail. So
crazy.
That's the Times saying it, so I got to believe that's a pretty accurate quote of Bragg. So that's on them. The problem when they did bail reform,
because it was supposed to be a statement that he made.
Yeah. The problem with bail
here, I didn't want to hear secondhand.
He didn't find it. Let him go on, Rich.
I can only do 3 things at a time, Rich. So the problem with the bail reform was when the reasons were right and the reasons were just, but they only took people from the defense, from the public defender's side, and they created bail reform. No law enforcement agency, no prosecutor's office was asked for input. So when you have one side doing things and not the other, I don't care which way's doing it, you're going to get something wrong every single time. If they only ask cops to make the bail rules, we're going to get it wrong. To me, it's no different. You have to have both sides
Well, I don't recall the DA's department passing laws.
I don't recall. Nobody says the DA's department passes laws or police departments.
Okay, but
neither does the public defender's office. It's their input on the bail.
Something that went into legislation and people voted on this.
But you know what's so funny with that legislation? Those are people that never done law enforcement. That's why a lot of times I think a lot of law enforcement, and correct me, fellas, if how you feel on this. A lot of law enforcement feel when CCRB came about, you were getting judged by people that never did law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you could respect a judgment from somebody that did law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the three of us, and Rich, I'm sure you could be good enough to sit on the CCRB thing, but I think the three of us automatically can see after we look at the facts. All right, was that excessive? Was it not excessive? Like what happened? You know, in lieu of an officer doing something a little bit beyond his scope. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, don't get me wrong. Could there be some biasness towards that? Absolutely. So should it be a mixture? I would say so. But like when you have people that are making, and that's why I always thought when we start talking about politics, I always feel sometimes you got to find that middle, that orange and that blue, and make that purple. So, you know, we can have a happy medium. I think, Kev, you and I, we've discussed that, Ty, Rich. You know, when you just go straight left or straight right, then you get the situation. Because right now, New York City is a shit show when it comes to crime and stuff like that. And, you know, people are just doing heinous stuff just because. Think about, we could talk about this. The migrants that just got arrested in the Bronx for committing so many crimes on the scooters. You know, so now with what they're doing, they put a black eye on their own self because, and I want to lead. This is leading up to my next question for you guys. They're putting a black eye on their own self because they're coming over here and they're like, yo, wait a minute. Somebody must have told them, say, yo, you can do whatever you want over here. The laws are lenient. And if you're not getting work, what does an animal do? He survives. And I'm not calling them animals, but I'm just saying no matter what ethnicity you are, you do what you can do to survive. And now they've learned how to do crimes, and it's getting out of hand right now. And it can't be stopped until you get back a tighter thing. Your thoughts? I'll start with you, Ty, and then I'll go to Kev and Rich.
Well, just know that a lot of the individuals who are coming from the South, they speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. So how difficult is it when, you know, they don't have anything else better to do? They're not in school, they're not working, for them to be recruited by other gangs that are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, absolutely, bro.
And once they're, you know, recruited and incorporated, of course they're going to be put to work.
Yeah. Kev?
Yeah, I mean, this is normal stuff. If you let people get away with bad behavior, more bad behavior happens. It's pretty simple. It works in your household with your children, and it works on the street with people. You can't let bad behavior go unpunished. Doesn't mean we have to put people away forever, but they need to know that you can't do it. You can't get away with it.
Rich?
Well, my problem with all of this is our language when we talk about stuff. You got 4 guys that committed a crime, and I'm in total agreement what they did was fucked up. And I told you, I thought somebody got shot in their foot. But the language that we're using when we address these individuals that committed that act is migrants, right? Just like if a man that commits a terrorist act whose religion happens to be Muslim, you label him as Muslims did that. Migrants did that. Black people did that. You're labeling the whole group for an act that a few made that was heinous. And all culture, society, and race, we all have bad people, right? But what happens is some people, they say, if a black man, oh, those black dudes, or all those Mexicans, or all those migrants, or all those Muslims, you know, everybody gets labeled and put in one basket, and it's the whole group that you got to watch out for now. Now, I agree with you. The law should be set where when people do shit like this, something happens. And that's not just for civilians. That's for police officers too. You guys made mention of the CCRB and all that. You know, as much as people may not agree with them, they don't even have teeth, meaning that there's nothing they can do but file a grievance, do an investigation, and then come up with whatever they say they came up with. But they don't have the authority to prosecute a police officer or bring him up on charges with going to trial, thing like that.
Their job is not to investigate crimes.
Power.
So they would never have the power to prosecute a police officer. They're not investigating crimes.
They have no teeth. They have no teeth to do anything to the police officers that are acting order, right?
One, I'm going to disagree with you, but two is what kind of teeth should they have? Like I said, they're not investigating crimes, Rich. So don't take this. If a cop commits a crime, if a cop
complaints made by civilians about police officers,
for misconduct, bad attitude, for things along those lines, not crime.
The CCRB can't do anything to police officers that committed those crimes.
So do you think when the CCRB, every time the CCRB makes a recommendation that this person was guilty or did something wrong, the police department just says
it's just a recommendation? It's just a recommendation. That's all it is.
What do you think the police department does with those recommendations?
All it is a recommendation. But I'm telling you, Kevin, historically, police officers have been getting away with putting foots in people in this community's ass. Historically. You might not think so, but it's a whole bunch of people that live in this community for their whole life that have experience. And I gotta say, it had become like in a form of terrorism. And I'm not saying all cops. I'm just saying that there's a culture in the NYPD that allows police officers to get away with shit. And things have started to take a turn where there's some kind of accountability now. And
okay, so stay with me. Go ahead.
Gotten extreme. It's written far to the right. You know.
All right, stay with me then. So hold on for a second, Kevin. You want to reply real quick before I go somewhere else?
You went into the CCRB. You don't think the police department, when that recommendation comes, does something? Because we can go through hundreds of cases where cops are losing days, getting transferred, not allowed back on the street. The CCRB doesn't see this statement of the CCRB has no teeth is kind of a trick statement, right? Yes, right, they don't do the punishment.
They don't make the final decision.
But they give it to the police department. The police department still hits us. The police department, if you're still there, it's not like the police department gets those things and says, I hear you. Kevin was okay, though. We're going to let Kevin go. Cops lose days all the time. All the time. I don't think there's a week that goes by, because these would come out as printouts that go to the whole city. We'd all see them. There's not a week that goes by that there's not a cop on there suspended, lost days, got this from CCRB, got this from the trial room. Every single week that list comes out. There are always cops on it. So there are cops getting hit. Are there ones who got away with things? 100%.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there are. You know, but sometimes these are he said, she said things, right? Rich, it's just me and you in a hallway.
Okay, Kev, I'm not saying that the police department doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
But you got to realize that the long-lasting effect that it has on a civilian when a cop is approaching someone and terrorizes them, where they fear for their lives first.
Rich, I'm with you. Look, I don't think the police department does enough to get a hold of those guys. I don't think they do enough to weed them out.
Kev, from a civilian's perspective, right?
Yeah.
What we see is you're facing the punishment of maybe losing your job, maybe losing your pension, but you got civilians that are fearful of losing their life, losing their freedom, being terrorized by some of the same police officers on a regular basis, right? These things are traumatizing, and it has a long-lasting effect for the rest of your life.
And it gets passed down to them generation to generation.
I
Not
agree
to
with
cut you off, Rich, but one thing I think Rich is trying to get across, Kev, and just to interject, okay, is that mentality gets passed down from generation to generation. So if the parents were abused or had bad run-ins with law enforcement, they pass that fear and that mentality on to their children, and so on and so on. Just like if something happens in a white community, that mentality, and it happens to them by a Black person or a Hispanic person, that mindset and that mentality gets passed on to their kids, and so on and so on, generational. And it has to be broken. What I would say now is that at this point in time, I think we see a lot more of it because we have technology has come about, and you're able to see the video cameras and more cameras. But I think it occurs, the abuse occurs a lot less now than it did back in the days.
I agree with you. And Rich, we're with you on this. I agree. Look, working or not working now, a bad cop to me is not my friend, right? But Kevin Branzetti had no power to weed them out.
Right.
The police department doesn't do a good job of, you got to do stings and touch cops. You got to be, Bill and I have talked about this 100 times. We got to be tougher in the academy.
Yeah.
We're very soft now, where we need people in the academy, old school drill sergeants screaming at people. And you need people of different races, sexes, colors, sexual orientation as the instructors in the academy. So you can see how Kevin Branzetti reacts to different people, right? Because if I react differently to Bill, there's a problem, and you got to weed me out.
Absolutely.
But we don't do it. We don't do stings to go after them. We don't test them enough. We're all for it. You got the wrong people. Like, we would be in, get them out. I don't like cops who are obnoxious, lazy, crooked, violent. None of them. I don't want any of them. I don't want to work with them. I don't want to sit in a car with them.
Yeah.
And most of us feel.
And I can verify for that. He's always been that way. He's always been a worker.
But
Bill, hold on. I want to go on. People got questions. Go ahead, Rich. Say what you say real quick. So I want to go to people who got questions and statements.
But I believe that the culture of the police are making a change for the better, right? Top down too. I know some COs, commanders that, from my experiences, don't play that game. I've had personally instances in the capacity that I am with the state assembly's office. And I'm gonna tell you what happened one quick time. And this was just before the pandemic. I'm walking in the neighborhood, and some guys in the neighborhood said, "Yo, Rich, you got to go talk to them cops over there, man. They wilding." So I walk over and I observe a SUV that had 5 cops, all white, get out of an SUV, hoodies on, baseball caps, no badges on display, guns was on display, but there were no badges on display, and they were shaking down this double park BMW that had 4 passengers in it. They had them outside sitting on the curb around the car. So I walk over and I'm just observing. I don't know the people in the car, never seen the cops before. So I'm standing with my back against the wall, just observing. I got on the suit and everything. I'm standing there looking, and I see a cop going in the car with the flashlight, searching the car. So I'm looking, just to observe, to make sure he ain't tossing nothing in there, nothing like that. So he sees me watching. When he sees me watching, he flags I guess whoever was in charge, the sergeant or whatever, points me out. The sergeant walks over to me and tells me, "I can't stand here." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, I'm not in your way. He said, we got a police action going on here, and we need you to move away. I said, "I'm not going anywhere." I said, "I'm not even nowhere near you. I'm sitting here observing." So he says, "Oh, so you on the job?" I said, "Yeah, I'm on the job. I'm not a cop, though." I said, "I work for the state assembly." I showed him my ID, gave him my business card. He says to me, "Oh, so you know that this neighborhood is reeking with guns, you know?" I said, "Listen, I'm not your problem, you know. I'm just here to make sure that everything is above board." I said, "Can I see your ID? Because I don't see no badges." I said, "What precinct you come out? We don't come out in no precinct." I said, "Well, can I see your badge? We don't have no badges." This is what he's saying to me.
Yeah.
Listen, let me just say this real quick, and then I want to we can stay on this and we can go on, but other people have some comments and questions.
No, but I'm just saying that to say we talking 2020, 2021.
No,
right?
no, Rich, I'm not disputing it at all. I'm just going to say this.
And I wasn't looking like some with my pants hanging or nothing. I'm dressed up in a suit. This motherfucker's to me like just a nigga.
Let me just say this. For people to think that it's easy, and we can segue after we read some comments and questions, we could segue into this new law that they're trying to implement, and officers putting paperwork after everybody they talk to. It's a little really redundant and ridiculous to me in my own personal, and I'll tell you why after we go forward. But the thing is, people have to realize, I'm sure Ty, Kev can admit, when we've all worked in plainclothes unit, a lot of times you're reacting on a split second. So you may forget to pull the badge out. When you find out the situation is a little de-escalated, you can show your badge. But if we've all worked in violent situations where guns and drugs are involved. So, oh, wait a minute, he's right there. Let's get him before he throws it away. You jump out the car right now, unless you're pulling that badge out on some real muscle memory stuff, sometimes people have to have a little leniency on like that. Because I think a lot of times, and like I said, like I just posted a thing like, oh, I'm black of the black, the black, the black. Like I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes to do the job, you got to do the job. Like Rich, this, we all play ball. Kev, you played hockey. Sometimes you got to file a little harder to get that score from being a little scared to come into the paint. I'm not saying that, you're not supposed to do your job. You got to do your job. But the thing is, you're looking for the badge. And Rich, I don't know what the situation was. Now, Rich, hold on, Rich. Rich, give me a second. Hold on. Now, when it comes to you, officers have a chip on their shoulder. The fact that they saw you standing there, that officer had small balls. You know what I'm trying to say? He had to come over there and pick with you. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm not justifying his actions by any means, because the bottom line is, we all know, Ty and I just did a seminar, not maybe last year, when we had officers come in and talk to the kids at the school, and each officer had a different level of points. Right,
yes, understanding, yes, and being able to relate,
yes. So everybody's standard of what they felt was comfortable, their comfort zone is different. Now, he was just going to make his comfort zone with you uncomfortable because the fact that you was watching. So you know what? He wanted to pick on the giant. Shame on him for doing that. I'll let you finish, and then I'm going to bring Ty in and answer this question. And I had some other comments in there that I wanted to get to. So you could comment back and tell me what you're feeling, but I want to move on. Go ahead.
What you described was not what I was talking about. I'm talking about, and you said, when you in motion and you in game mode, so to speak, you forget to pull the badge out and all that. I got that, right? But I'm talking about, I identified myself in the capacity in which I work. And I asked him to identify himself, and he refused to do it.
Well, shame on him.
He's wrong.
Shame on him.
I'm also going to defend that.
But if he would treat me like that, what would he do to the common citizen? And this is
a common citizen, but yes.
And to complete what actually happened after that, he told the people that he was searching he told them to tell me to get out of here. You need to tell him to get out of here, or it's going to be worse on y'all.
Well, Rich, I can't, and I don't think Ty or Kevin here would even try to defend his actions. And but when you talk about
Bill, that this is a culture that made him think that what he was doing was okay. right?
I'm not even disputing that, because the bottom line, if we talk historically, we can talk with Leo's are.
On the commander from the 3-2. And he came out of the precinct to step to them clowns.
I'm not disputing, and there's no way in hell you're gonna ever hear me defend the culture of NYPD, because Ty, Kevin, and I we have all understood that the culture is from slave mentality, catching slaves. We understand that, and it's been handed down from generation to generation to generation, where right now that is what they're trying to wean out. But with that being said, you still can't wean out good officers for working. You know what I'm trying to say? And now your scenario that you just painted is not about a good officer. And I think that's the only thing that I'm saying, and maybe Kevin and Ty are trying to allude to. We're not talking about a good officer. Now, I agree with you. We all have been damaged, especially a person of color, of a bad officer. I'm on this job now because an officer pulled me over one time and he gave me a ticket, and I wasn't working, and I showed him my city ID, and he still wrote me a ticket. And I got on this job hopefully one day to see him so I could deal with that situation and let him know, listen, boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm trying to say? I end up becoming good friends with his partner at the time, and his partner didn't say, well, why don't you give him a break? He still wrote me a ticket. I still know his name to this day. If I ever go to a racket or a punch function and I run into a dude named, but his name is, I'm still going to address that. You understand what I'm saying? Because my skin ain't that thick. You know what I'm trying to say? But what I'm trying to say is that I can't judge every officer. What I think I'm going to say, I can't speak for Ty or Kevin. What I do know is that every officer gets scrutinized for the actions of one. But this was, Ty, Kevin agrees with that.
Sir,
yeah.
This was a unit of 5 men. And the one that was in charge was the one.
But Rich, she's already addressed that. Can we please move on? Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ty,
please. Thank you.
Ty, answer this. See if you can answer this question. And we're going back to the migrants. She says, Tashana says, do you think they were trouble from before they even got here?
They could have.
Speculation.
You don't. That's the gripe that a lot of individuals have with the border. You don't know what's coming across the border, who's coming across the border, what mentality is coming across the border, and that's what the problem is. You don't know.
Yeah. Vivian also asked a question. She said, Spanish or not, we all know right and wrong. 4 to 5 guys attacking law enforcement is unacceptable. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Kevin.
Glad she said that. 4 or 5 guys, not migrants.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No matter who you are, if you're attacking law enforcement,
4 or 5 guys.
You can't label 4 or 5 guys migrants as falling under the category. That's why I said we got to be careful of the language we use it.
Oh, absolutely.
We agree. Yeah.
We all agree. We all agree with that.
I think it was investigated and they figured out who these individuals were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kevin.
She's asking what CCRB is.
Go ahead. You can answer it, Ty. Go ahead.
I forgot.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Civilian complaint review board.
Yes. And what happens, go ahead, Ty, if you want to elaborate more, what happens when they go there, or Kevin, either one of y'all can take that.
So the Civilian Complaint Review Board was a board that was set up by the city to review cops' behavior, negative behavior, and pass down their disposition based on what they found after conducting the investigation. Am I right, Kev?
That's it. And our one, we mentioned earlier, our one complaint with it is it's all civilians. It's not a mixture of formal.
They don't know how to, you know what it was? There's no objectivity. Everyone there is really going to be like, everybody's bad and no one's good, regardless,
Right.
Yeah.
Let me put this up there. Stefania is in the building. She wants to say, she says, happy birthday. As I scroll down, I did some questions before I ask another question. Sharon has a comment. I didn't read it until right now, and I'll let you guys read it. We'll all read it together. She says communities of color have been unsuccessfully brutalized by the police in New York and across America. Most people do not file reports against a police officer. And when someone does file a grievance, it tends to fall on deaf ears. We are telling you, Kevin, the police in Black and brown communities have always used their professions in unethical ways. You can reply, or what, anybody can take it, Ty or Rich.
She addressed Kevin with that.
Yeah, she addressed Kevin. That's true.
Sharon, I'm not arguing with you on it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's good one, Ty. You're right. She did.
You know, and do I agree? Yeah, that grievances, not every grievance is handled, and I would say if we went back 30 years, a far more percentage of grievances were thrown in the garbage can and made to disappear. We're in a good era, I believe, where there's a lot of video, a lot of ways of people taking video and getting it to Civilian Complaint Review Board and to Internal Affairs. And every prosecutor's office has an investigative team just assigned to investigate the police.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of ways to do it. Is it perfect? No. But I'll argue that give me what profession making a complaint about that profession is perfect.
Yeah, because definitely we know HR is terrible in what they do. No disrespect to anybody at HR, but I've seen people deal with HR, and HR are just like, they're mediators, they're not pacifiers. Tashana says it would be nice if they could connect with community and better understand the culture they're working in. Rich, you want to comment on that?
That's what we do.
Well, she's absolutely right. But what I want to ask you guys is, what other job is there where the people that you work for can evaluate your job performance, right? Because a civilian can
say can't. You say
can't.
Okay.
You are a public servant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are exempt from being judged by your employer, which is the public.
Public is not my employer.
They just pay their taxes, and
that's it.
We as other as city workers get paid from those taxes. It's not just them. Okay, so
when you say them who?
Civilians.
Them who?
Me and everyone else that lives in the city.
Yeah, those taxes come out of the people that work, right?
Yes.
So you work as a public servant.
Yes. So there's a lot of other city workers.
That's who you work for, the public.
And so there's a lot of other city workers.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Right?
But nobody's telling sanitation, yo, pick that garbage up because I pay your
Well,
your
they
job.
do say that, but evaluation.
No, you don't.
Rich, how can you do an evaluation on me? You can make a complaint and you can send them a letter.
See, but there's a difference in the job descriptions, right? You guys are entrusted with the power to take a life.
Understood.
I agree, and we should be held to a standard.
You are entrusted with life and death situations, right? You should be held to a higher standard and be rewarded at a higher standard.
But we're not rewarded. We're held to a higher standard and we're scrutinized, but we're not rewarded.
But that's another battle. And I'm with any piece of paper that goes across the desk that says police officers get paid more money. I'm with that, right? But I'm also with the fact that if I'm going to treat you better when you're doing good, I want to treat you fucked up when you're doing fucked up intentionally.
We ain't arguing that.
Right?
The argument was you said
the fact is that it exists. I can go on and on about this, but I know Ty's hearing me say it. Right? But there needs to be an understanding by the cops on how people that live in this community have been policed throughout history.
So Rich, we have talked about that a bunch, and we all agree, right? It should be taught in the academy. I've talked about it a bunch of times. The police department did me no justice in taking me and putting me in the 2-8 without an education of the history of policing. They did me none.
I agree.
And we've had since I've gotten on the police department, since I've left, we've had mayors of color, we've had police commissioners of color. Not one of them has changed this. So we've sit here and complain. It should be done. I needed, to be fair to me as a cop, I needed a better education in the academy, and I didn't get it. And it's still not being done.
But law change a culture. Just because they pass a law that says you can't be prejudiced or racist in a certain to particular group, don't mean that that's going to make you feel.
No, but Rich, Rich, address what Kevin just said, because that's very important. Because Kevin and I had extensive conversations in the car, and that's why we're here today as our friendship. Address what he just said
about previous mayors not doing anything.
Previous, current, none of them.
I thought I did, because this is not about.
How do we change that, Rich?
Bro, this is not about a different mayor. This is not about a different governor or a different president. A different president is not going to make white supremacists feel any different. I don't give a fuck which president it is. Right?
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that you have a person of his background. They threshold him into a Harlem community, and all they told him was the law. They didn't tell him anything about the culture of the community that he was there to protect and serve. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
And I agree with him. And to tell you the truth, I think to this day they still don't have that across the country.
And that's what Kevin was saying.
Let me ask you something, man.
I was going
to your point.
Ty said he wasn't finished, Rich.
I wasn't finished.
Do they train them how white folks?
Okay. Now, what I was going to say to you, Rich, and I'm disregarding your statement, but Bill and I have talked about and started to put together a program to diversify the mindset where we need to go in. And I'm waiting for Bill to pull the trigger with his political connections to get us in the academy where we can start teaching classes when they come in how to better interact in the precincts that they go in and the culture. They gave them social science, but it's not the same. So there's certain things that they need to know. Like I could tell you from experience, at times when I used to go in and teach the recruits when they were first coming in housing about how to interact with undercovers. And I would ask a simple question. How many individuals in this classroom have ever been in a fight? And that's out of 30 or 35 individuals, maybe more. Maybe 5 or 6 would raise their hand. That's the first thing. Second thing is, how many individuals here really know how?
Can't hear what you say.
How many individuals here know about the communities they may be going into? And a lot of hands didn't go up, you know. So.
Yeah. Look, I was born and raised and lived in the city. Lived in the city the whole time I was a police officer. But where I lived was different than where I worked. Like I said, I needed that. I didn't understand when a black man saw me in a uniform, he looked at me differently because of the history of what law enforcement has done to him and his family and his friends and his uncles and everybody else. You know, so when somebody gave me attitude because I was a cop, I don't understand the background of it. But that's what I'm saying, Rich. Nobody's changing that. Nobody has stepped up, and we've had, you know, different mayors, different commissioners, people of color, people of different sexes. Nobody's changed it. It's still the same freaking academy.
Kev, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You said when they dropped you in the 2-8, they didn't give you any kind of training about the community in which you were servicing, right?
Yep.
All right. If they would have dropped you in your community, would they have need to train you?
They need to train me everywhere about the history.
No, but you said they dropped you in the 3-2 in a community of color. Like there's some special training on how to treat people of color.
It's not how to no, it's not how to treat people. You're misinterpreting that.
No,
I know the history of policing how people were treated.
For Bill and Ty, you know, if they put you in a white neighborhood, do you think that you're trained to work with white people?
But that's a rhetorical question, Rich, because
why?
And it's just like I explained earlier. Maybe you didn't get it. Okay, people relate better to individual neighborhoods and people that they are used to, that they grew up around, and where they come from. It's just like when I told you on past podcasts about empathy. I said part of the reason you have you have the behavior you have in communities of color from white officers is because of empathy. Like a lot of times individuals don't know how to empathize with individuals that don't look like them, don't come from where they come from, and don't live next door to them. Of course, someone who comes from a certain community knows how to relate to that community better than someone who doesn't. That you work in schools.
What you're saying is
ABCs,
they
right there.
police the white neighborhood the same way they police the people of color. That's what you're saying to me?
I guess you didn't hear my last comment.
I don't know how you turn this thing around.
But he turned it good, though. He turned it good.
Working in two different neighborhoods that police, you got two white cops and two black cops in the white neighborhood. You got two white cops, you got two black cops in the black neighborhood. They do not police those neighborhoods the same.
I agree with you.
So how are you saying that what I said is rhetorical if it's not the same?
Because you asked Kevin directly if he was in a white neighborhood, would he need to be taught how to treat those people? You didn't say, do the black cops need to be taught how to treat those people in that neighborhood? You asked Kevin directly. Can we move on, Bill? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get hold up.
No.
Sorry.
Can I say something, actually, because I got to leave in a minute. And Bill, I want to.
Do you police different in a white neighborhood than you do in a black neighborhood?
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Anybody want to answer this question before I go on? Because Kev has a leave in T minus. So
I like to go talk about that new bill.
Yeah, let's talk about that new bill real quick. And then Norm said, shout out to Norm Davis. He's part of the Real Talk family. He out there in Mississippi playing around. He said, I like when civilians would watch my interactions with the suspect because they knew when they saw me again, I was playing fair. Kev, go ahead. We can start on that new bill. What do you think about that new bill?
I think besides it's going to slow cops down, I think it's going to hurt on cop and community relations. Because we wanted cops to talk to people. Cops now have to, anytime I talk to somebody, I got to fill out a piece of paper. And cops love paperwork. You're going to get a lot of this. Cops are just going to shut their mouths. When I'm on my foot post, I'm not going to engage anybody. Because if I talk to you as you walk by, Rich, I got to ask you your name now, and I got to fill it out. I can't say good morning to people and talk to them. I have to fill out paperwork. It's ridiculous.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard of. It really is.
The city council, they're trying to do things. They have their heart in the right place, but they just don't know what they're talking about.
And you know what? Let me just give this to everybody else, and then I'm gonna read Sharon's question to Kevin before we can get out of here, or statement. Everybody out there, think about if you spoke to every coworker at your job and you had to document the conversation you had with the coworker, would you think that would make sense? And then I'll leave it there. Sharon says, we teach our black and brown boys what to do when they're approached by the police for as young as 8 to 10 years old. As black men, I know have been stopped by police multiple times throughout their lives. At each time, the officer has no reason for stopping and searching them. Good police officers are unfortunately overshadowed by bad apples. We totally agree with that, Sharon. I listen. We could talk. I know Kevin has to get out of here. I just want to read the statements real quick. Stefania said, we talked about the migrants. Let me see, what did she say? She said, did you guys discuss the gang of migrants that were arrested for? Yes, we talked about that. Yeah. You late, sis. Let's see what Tashania says. She says, in the past, were there a requirement for officers to live in the city? I think, Kev, you replied to her. Yes, there were.
I lived in the city.
Yeah, Kev lived in the city. Nia says, let's see what she says. There's a book called Verbal Judo. We were all taught that. That was an excellent read. Yeah, it was. Poor data, good data, all that nonsense. A lot of them should be given written tests on that book. I think it was just like word games. She also says, let me show this before Kevin gets out of here. Since the beginning of time, we have to teach our son our sons how to act and what not to say if stopped by. I totally agree with that. We didn't have the power. We didn't have the power to do these things. Nia said, let's keep it real. Unfortunately, other cultures have been what is this word? Kevin,
Can
somebody
I say one thing?
Mannerism.
Mannerism.
Can I say one thing
Uh-huh.
about that last comment about having to teach the children from when we're younger?
Yeah.
And I didn't say this before. The difference culture-wise, and that's something that gets passed down within the Black and brown community. And I think a lot of it stemmed from even back as far as Emmett Till. So the fear that parents had of their children speaking back to anyone, white or in uniform, stemmed from incidents like that. And that Emmett Till's situation was just one of many.
1955, right? Yeah.
Was
One of the rare ones that made it to the news.
Yes, that resonated within our culture and our communities because it was shown nationwide. But think locally, how many individuals were brutalized by individuals of who had power, like the police. So that mentality is something that was taught to our culture and passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. Kev, I know you're going to get out of here. Listen, we're going to try to come up with a better schedule for you all. My schedules has kind of changed. I got to ask these guys if they'll be able to do it Tuesdays. Mondays are still good, but Wednesdays may be kind of hard for me sometimes now. But if we still could do Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I'm still going to do rock out. Wednesdays are good for you, Ty?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Talk in the green room.
Oh, yeah, we're talking the green room. Kev, I'm going to let you get out of here. I just want to read some more of these comments. Kev, you can go whenever you're ready. I know I know Rich got some stuff to say. Ty, you got a few more minutes? You could rock out with us?
I'm good.
Okay. Kev, I see you in a few, brother.
Hey,
I
Kev,
got like 10 more minutes. I'll be
okay, cool.
Kev, before you go, right?
Now
I
I
got
got
10 more minutes. Don't take us 10 minutes, Rich. Don't take us 10 minutes now. Kim Shear said, I agree. Kevin, too much time taken away from real crimes. Absolutely. I think it's the worst thing that could ever happen that you have us out there, and I say us. I wish I would. Every time I stop somebody, talk to somebody, I got to write this shit down and talk about it. I think it's ludicrous. Which Tashana said, I thought that was only if you arrested someone. Are you talking about in regards to something? Stopping somebody, stop, question, frisk kind of thing. No, Norm Davis said, I said the new recruiting officers need to be in the community that they are going to work in for about 6 months before they are allowed to have a gun. And Richard needs to listen and hear what Kevin and Ty say.
Who said that?
That's Norm, baby.
What's up? Norm?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. So Ty, what's your thoughts on that? I know Kev thought his comment. He mentioned his feelings on that new law. What do you think about that new law that they're trying to pass?
They did pass.
They passed it. They passed it.
Oh, it's passed. It's passed, dude.
Which one?
Damn.
Which one?
The talking. Anytime I talk to somebody, I gotta take their info and report it. The cops have to.
It's a go on that?
Yeah, the city overrided the mayor's veto.
Oh, they override the mayor. Wow.
Yeah, he tried.
Can I ask you guys?
That's ridiculous. You know how much confusion that's going to cause?
Can I ask you guys something?
Yes, sir.
All right, because I'm out in the community and I see police officers deployed and they stand around 2 at a time, 2 across the street over here, 2 down there, and they standing. Why are you shaking your head?
Because I already know. Go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry. My bad.
I'm just in the 100 with you. I'm out there every day, and I see how they're deployed, and they got.
You need a hobby.
Off, and they get posted in, say, in front of the bodega over here, or the liquor store down there. 2 officers together, right? And they might walk from, say, this street to that street and then back. And they stay in a particular location that they're assigned to stay in. And I watch them. And for the most part, they don't even talk. And this is before the law get passed. They don't talk to nobody. They standing amongst themselves, just standing there most of the time on their phones, right? And they're just looking and talking to each other. And the only other action that I do see is the one where they enforce moving double park cars. So if somebody pulls up and they double park, the cops will get off the wall, walk over to the car, ask them to move or ticket it. What they have done is given a little leeway for people to move their car, because a lot of times these people are jumping out to run into the store to grab whatever they're going to grab and then get back in their car and keep it moving. So they've been a little more flexible with that situation, where before they just hitting you with a ticket, right? But other than the interaction with the community, for the most part, there is none right now. So the passing of that law isn't going to really, to me, change anything, because they're not interacting with anyone. And if they do have interaction, it should be because there's something going on, right? Or even if they had a friendly conversation with someone, right? I'm trying to, and I'm going to go on these, I signed my name to go on these ride-alongs to see what it's like, right? When it comes to this law they just passed, right? So I can see firsthand for myself from the standpoint of a police officer. But like I said, I'm already out there and have been out there for years watching the interaction with police officers. Now, mind you, you do have some officers that interact with people if they get assigned there long enough to get to know somebody, right?
Let me interject for a second. What you're talking about, there isn't a law. It's not in the job requirement that you have to speak to people. Now we're talking about personalities. Let me just tell you this. I'm from Harlem. I lived in a 3-0. The precinct I started was in a 2-8. I got reprimanded for speaking to people in the community that I knew that were street pharmacists. But I was able to de-escalate anything because they knew me.
Pharmacists?
Yeah, street pharmacists, because they assumed street pharmacists, right? Okay. And Kev, you know the sergeant I'm talking about. I'll tell you in the green room or later. And he was like, "Oh, what are you doing over here?" I'm talking to the community. I was the epitome of what a community police officer was. So when you have a mentality, and it goes back to the mentality we talked about earlier of what a person thinks in the past, like, certain people feel a certain way. That's an old school mentality. But the bottom line is, look, on my watch, we didn't have problems on my block when we had the business posts and stuff like that. I didn't have a problem. People moved the car because they saw me. They was like, "Oh, B." I was like, "Yeah, come on, you got to move the car. Don't make me do my job. My job, I just did my job and asked you to move nicely. If I come down the block and come back down, you're going to make me write you, because now I felt you was disrespecting me. Just like any officer would feel that you're being disrespected if I asked you nicely. You know what I'm saying? Now, I took it more personal, because if I saw you, Rich, and I say, "Yo, Rich, what's up, bro?" You say, "Hey, what's up, B?" And I say, "Yo, move your car." I say, "I'm going to walk down the block." You know what I'm saying? I'll be back, but you move your car, And then I come back and you still there. And I'm like, "Yo, Rich, now you disrespected me. Yo, I'm waiting for so-and-so to come out the store. I didn't ask you that. I asked you to move your car because I have to answer to a sergeant, a lieutenant, or maybe the CEO or whoever's driving down this block. Now, do I get reprimanded and get my ass chewed out because you think you're going to take the liberty to sit there because you know me? Nah, dog. You got to get this ticket now. And then whatever happens after that, we can do whatever we want to do. Because now you know where I work at, you know where I live, because you disrespected me. So you got a black officer in your community, and I did exactly what you talking about, speaking to you, said what's up, and you disrespected me. And now here I'm gonna flip the game so hard. Just the way I say to another brother or a Spanish brother, "Yo, if I was a white officer, you wouldn't have did that." See, that's where the game gets real gangster with it. You know what I'm trying to say? That was a white officer, you would have did it because you got scared to get locked up. You know what I'm saying, Rich? So people got to get people get this shit real twisted sometimes.
About that, I'm not saying to you that
no, but I'm not saying you per se. I'm just talking about how a lot of times people want something and they don't get it, and when they get it, they don't want that because then they abuse it. You know, this is the problem.
So,
You know, because I've seen, and Ty, correct me. Listen, I've seen people give more respect to a white officer than they give me. And I'd be like, oh, okay. But I'm the problem.
And I've seen the opposite, right? I've had the opposite.
And Kev, I'm sure you've been someplace and a person of color may have verbally disrespected you and may not did me. I totally get it. It's a crazy world we live in.
I want to throw something at you, Rich. When I first got to the 2-8, right? So you have your couple of weeks of orientation, you're meeting people, you date things. All right. I'm an academy kid, came to the 2-8. I don't know shit.
You still don't know shit, but go ahead.
And what I'm being taught there is, I remember the speech about how violent the 2-8 was.
Yeah.
The murder rate there, it used to be the highest per capita murder rate in the country. It was, all this violent. Be careful. This block here, people are known to jump cops. This corner here, people are known to jump cops.
Yep.
That's the speech I'm giving. And it's multiple times for multiple people. And now I'm sent on that foot post my first time.
Yep.
I'm not talking to people.
No, but see, here's the problem. That's the wrong sort of conversation.
100%.
No. That's the wrong lesson to be taught. What needs to be taught is this: how to interact with people in the community. You see a lady coming. There's nothing wrong if you see a lady walking down the steps of one of the buildings, helping her the same way you would help her in any community. There's nothing wrong if you see a group of guys walking by going to school, observing them and giving them a compliment on whatever they're wearing. That may open the door for conversation. But these aren't the key things that people are teaching. They feel that it's common sense and they feel that everyone's going to have this because they put them out there. No, it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to teach people, especially this younger generation, both generations, Gen Z and Gen X, because they're a generation of technology. And all they've had for the majority of their adolescent and adult lives are these things to communicate on. So they don't know how to communicate face to face, and they don't need to know. They rather text. You know what I mean? So these are the same people you have as officers, and that's why they get in trouble when they're out there on their phones in uniform, because they should be communicating with people in the community.
And what's so funny? Let me just piggyback off of that. If you put officers of their ethnicity in their communities, the first cry would be once the officer does something to rectify, lock somebody up, or do something. Oh, you a sellout, right? What's so funny? I don't know. I might have been called a sellout more than Kevin has. You know what I'm saying? I remember in 2-8.
No question. I don't think I was.
You know what I'm saying? I've been in the 2-8. I never forget. Situation jump off on 127 in like Linux or something. Melee, boom, whatever. It gets broken up before I get there. So I'm just watching. All the white officers was handling the situation. Dudes come to me, sell out Tom, Dick, whatever, Harry. I'm like, oh. So my man that I was with, he was like, yo, B, hold it. Because he saw I was about to get different with it. Like the Harlem dude was about to come out. I was going to address that. Because I'm not used to anybody talking to me reckless.
What
you know
year
what I'm saying? Huh?
What year was that around? You were assigned in the 2-8.
94.
Yeah,
I
was running a group home on 127th Street between 7 clinics.
Well,
you were the one giving Bill a hard time?
No, I mean, I was on 136 West 127th Street. Right down the street from the mosque, right across the street from Mama I Want to Sing's theater over there.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I think like Rich, like Ty said earlier, and Kev knows, like, I'm really trying to talk to the powers that be, because they don't have us in the academy. They don't have us talking to the recruits and stuff like that. Because the bottom line is, should the academy maybe be a year? But no, they got to pump it up, because now we're down to like 33,000 from 40,000 back in the days. And the bottom line is, what they're taught, then how to interact. Like Kevin said, you need some tough love. All this soft tissue, baby wipe stuff. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? listen, the bottom line is, I tell any officer, anytime I've spoken to him, any situation that I've been in where I could speak to officers, I said, treat people like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And then handle your business, but you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I mean, Kev, Ty, we all got that tenure. When was the last time somebody talked to us reckless and then get handed? You know what I'm saying? Get pushed or slammed to get, you know what I'm saying? Like, who you think you're talking to? Like this bucket game, that's absurd to me. When they was throwing water on people. Listen, we would, Kev, in the 2-8, we would have shut the block down. We would have shut the whole block down. Ty, I know whenever you started that, I'm sure they would have shut the whole block down. You know what I'm saying?
You work in the day that somebody disrespected Lieutenant Quinn, and for people who don't know Lieutenant Quinn, he was a complete legend in the 2-8 and the gentleman of gentlemen. They're Bill, anybody better in your career?
Nah, no. It was heaven sent.
He was disrespected on the corner. That block for that day, a couple of days, every minor violation, just you get summons, handcuffed, and done. Like, we were not accepting that. Buckets, throw. We might retreat for a second, but we're coming back, and you're not winning. Like, there's no way we're gonna get punked.
No, I'm gonna tell y'all a true story. One time in the 2-8, I knew who the leaders of the Bloods were, right? One time on 119th between 5th and Lenox, Kevin, I can tell you the names later of the officers that were doing midnights. They responded to an aided. For those that don't know what an aided is, that's a person that's sick, right? It had nothing to do with drugs, guns, anything. They're just responding to a job of calls or help or aided. They go to the job. When they come back out from whatever the job is after the ambulance comes, they have, I think, a garbage can or something, or a brick thrown through their police car window, right? At roll call, 119th is everybody hammers 119th. 119th can't eat, right? I got day tours. I go out there to 119th. I ride up the block. I don't know if I was with my old partner, Paulie, or somebody else, a person of color. I don't know who I was with at the time. So the officers see me. So they're like, yo, Force, what's good? I'm like, yo, what? I said, what are y'all doing? So they was like, what are you talking about? I said, what happened last night? They were like, what are you talking about? I said, cop come on the block handling a aided, somebody sick, and they get airmailed and their car gets sectored. You guys can't eat. You guys can't eat. You can't be out here. They coming. The cavalry is coming. They was like, what? Dude goes to the other guy. He says, yo, who was out here last night? A dude, like he was like an apprentice, I forgot what they call it when a person wants to be initiated. Like he was, you know what I'm saying? They was like, oh, yeah. They was like, yo, so-and-so was out here. They was like, what? Like, they was like, yo, Force, we got it. We'll take care of it. Can you keep the walls off? I said, when I go back to roll call or whatever, boom. Dude ends up in the hospital, right? Street justice, right? I had a white officer tell me, no, you were supposed to get him and bring him to the precinct. Shut the hell up, B. Listen, let the street handle that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're not going to tell me how to handle street codes and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. You know, we ain't telling the mafia how to do it. Yo, they got it.
Not to cut you off, Bill, but that's exactly what would have went on in one of those mobbed up precincts. And if an officer had any sort of respect with that community, he would have spoke to somebody and they would have said, we'll take care of it. And that would have been that. He wasn't bringing nobody down the precinct. So,
exactly. That wouldn't happen at Arthur Avenue in Little Italy or something like that. So the bottom line is, the more what I'm trying to say is those days are gone now. You know what I'm saying? That nepotism in the street, even if Kevin had that report, like Duffy had that report, you know what I'm saying? Like officers, Kevin and I was running across roofs. You know what I'm saying? When we did things, there was no, listen, long as you don't disrespect and fight, we treat you right. You know, We treat you right. We give you a food. We give you a sandwich. We give you anything. The bottom line is you're getting locked up. Yeah, you were selling drugs. We got you with 30 bags of crack. The bottom line is you're going to jail.
All right. Gentlemen, I got to call it a night.
Yeah,
all right, Kev.
I appreciate you all.
I see. Definitely. We're going to talk. We'll talk, Kev.
Let them know the date we talked about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. I'll hit you up after. All right.
Come down that day.
Yeah. Rich
What's going
and
to
Todd,
happen?
we got 5 minutes.
In
What's your
agreement
thoughts?
with
Yeah, yeah. Rich and Todd, what's your thoughts? I mean, the bottom line is what Kevin and I were trying to say is that, and Todd, I think, was like the training does not suit what needs to be done out here. Because the bottom line is, I, to this day, because I'm former law enforcement, when I see officers, I speak. Do I not get spoken to sometimes? Yes. Do I not get waved back to? Yes. And then I say to myself, now I see why the civilians feel the way they feel. Because, you know, he or she is acting like a tool. And most of the times I get it from male officers. I don't get it really too from female officers. Female officers are way back, you know what I'm saying? But it's the male officers. And I can't just say it's just white officers. Black officers, Spanish officers, they just don't speak because they've been conditioned with when you were talking about, Ty, Kevin, we were all talking about historically, we're taught that the community doesn't like us. So they're not looking at that's one person that's speaking to me because he likes law enforcement. They have no clue of why I'm speaking. I'm just waving. They turn in a deaf ear, man. So it starts with it starts at home. It don't even start in the academy because 6 months in the academy cannot teach you how to not be racist or prejudiced and of any ethnicity, Latin, Black, white, Spanish, whoever you or homophobic or anything. You cannot learn that in 6 months. But if you do it because you want to keep your job, so you kind of pacify that kind of energy. Todd, Rich, I'll yield back to you guys for the last few minutes.
Basically, how you feel in your heart usually comes out in your actions. And real people recognize real, you know? So when you go in certain communities, if you're putting on a hat, and it's very easy for the community to call bullshit, you know? So I think what needs to be done is, aside from the social science, or they need to call it something else, they need to have individuals like ourselves or other seasoned retired individuals come in and teach a few classes to help diversify their mindset, you know, and help them so that they can be or feel a little more comfortable when they go into certain communities. That's it. I'm good.
Rich, closing comments?
Well, police officer's job is a hard.
We lost you, bro. We lost you, Rich.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
And
we got you now.
Can you hear me?
We got you now, brother. We got you.
Okay. Your job is a hard job. No question about it. It takes a special individual to do your job. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that are come for this job are just coming for a job, not realizing what they're being entrusted with and what the job really entails and what they're putting on the line. It takes a hero. It takes a real man and woman to fill those seats. And again, I have nothing but respect for you. But at the same time, you can't not have that job, or any job for that matter, without oversight. You're going to have those individuals that are going to feel a certain way about a particular group of people and act accordingly. And again, this police department thing was developed from slavery, right?
Agreed.
And the the whole mindset of the police department is started out wrong. We need police officers to police the community and all communities justly. And I say to officers, because I've spoken to groups of graduating classes, and the question is, how would we expect you to police our community? And I said, police me like you would police your brother. Mm-hmm. Police me like you would police your sister. Because that same thing is going to happen to your sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers. Because they're going to be policed. Even though you're an officer, you out here, and if you're approached on your day off and you get pulled over or stopped, your first order of business is you got to let them know that you're down with them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you don't, you're going to get treated a certain way. And unfortunately, the average civilian doesn't have that luxury to be able to say, yo, I'm down with you, flash a badge or whatever, and now I can get treated differently. And again, that's not all cops. But if you're going to be a cop, you got to be fair with it.
Yeah, facts. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I thank my panel for always being here with me. I appreciate you. I've got my man Ty Butler, got my man Richard Williams, I had Kevin Branzetti. Listen, the one thing that we will always do is keep it 100 with you, Real Talk. We talk about issues that people don't want to touch. So if you like what you just heard tonight, please share it, subscribe to it. If you're watching from YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, go to YouTube and just subscribe to Real Talk Chronicles. Share this podcast. If you're on Facebook, just share it to your page and let people hear what we was doing, you know, how we get it in. You know, we've been away for a minute. We all have personal lives and we're doing things, trying to make the world a better place, but we still come back. And we came back and we gave you a hell of a show tonight. And thank you all. I appreciate you all. I'm sure Rich appreciates you. Ty appreciates you, and Kev does. And we'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll see you next week, depending on the scheduling for all these gentlemen. But like I said, Ty, I want to make sure my guys are here. So, you know, we might be skipping a Wednesday or not, but we'll be back on Wednesdays when we rock out and we do what we do. With that, we said, everybody have a great night. We'll see you soon. And peace and love. All right.
Peace out.